Hi, I'm Odeean. Today I'm having a look at Toyworld Aurora TW-T02, also known as Searchlight from Transformers G1. Searchlight was a member of the Throttlebots in G1, some very simple Transformers. I've got all of them somewhere, God knows where. Can't find them for this review, but Toyworld have been kind of more than hinting that this guy is part of a combiner, and I find it a bit incredible to believe, to be honest, especially considering they haven't even bothered to show any combined mode on the back of the box. I'm skeptical at best. Whether Searchlight is a combiner or not is a bit besides the point for me. I like Throttlebots, and I'm already hooked just on that concept. I don't need any kind of combination, and to be honest, I think it's better without it, because I don't need to have any kind of janked up joints in the middle of it that are just going to be elbows or knees or whatever. So I'm fine with it the way it is. If it does end up being a combiner, well, that's a little bit of extra, isn't it? So as far as scale is concerned, here we've got grind rod, aka roll bar. So these guys are definitely seeming to be in scale with each other, and they look really fantastic together. But aside from roll bar, I thought another kind of similarly sized vehicle would be this Cliff from Alternity. So I think that they are scaled just right. This is a little bit bigger car, so I think that comes out being a bit spot on. And given that Cliff is pretty good going with most classics, I think that these Throttlebots are in line with classics. Good scale for classics. He also fits in pretty well with MP10. And our little Splack Witwicky figure. As far as build quality goes, very excellent rollability, plastic wheels, nice multicolored paint trim. Not huge amount of paint, but not lacking either. Black painted windows, which look pretty good, but I always prefer real windows. But in this case, I can forgive it because they do look acceptable with the amount of gloss that's on them. Nice little license plate at the back there, if I can just focus on it. Now, no Autobot shaped spots, but I guess if you wanted to put a symbol on, there's plenty of spots where they can go on the hood. So let's get this guy transformed. So to do that, we're just going to open the various bits to loosen him up like this. You can see the top pops backwards a bit. These go out the side. These panels all kind of separate. Once you're in that kind of loosened position, it's much easier to take it from there. So the first thing I'll do then is to just bend these feet up like this into the front position, which is where they stay. After that, you'll see that these wheels on the back here kind of fold away. They don't really tab in, they just reach a final spot. These panels at the side then kind of rotate down over them, and then the black bit just bends around the back. I'll repeat that on the other side. Bend that in. Now, it's a little bit unstable in this region. It can fall backwards because there's no real heel spur, but I guess we'll get to that later. The next thing is to grab a hold of the leg unit and just extend it, because it's more like this when it's transformed, but what we want it to be is like this. Next, separate the top and bottom of the back, like so, and we'll do the same on the other side. And what that lets me do is put this up like this, and then rotate these sections around onto the back, and you can see those two little tabs. It just tabs together like that. Once tabbed together, this piece here just turns around on a kind of pivot, and it can bend down the back. Now again, this doesn't really lock in. It has some little grooves in it here, which I feel like maybe if you got the wheel into a good spot, it would pinch the plastic in the wheel to hold, but it doesn't do a fantastic job, but it does stay well enough in robot mode. Next, these sections that we just untabbed are really the arms, so what we want to do is just pull them out basically and move them around until they look like arms. There's nothing too fancy about it. Rotate the hand out. Do the same on the other side. two arms. You can see the head up here. Now this head is a bit problematic. There's a lack of clearance on this little corner piece, and I found that it doesn't want to go over, and it tends to start splitting the seam where the yellow plastic joins the blue plastic. It's a bit of a design flaw, and if you push it too hard you can actually break the toy. So what I like to do is just hold it together while I get it over that hump, like squeezing the two halves. Now all that leaves to do is start to bend this piece up like this, and at the same time rotate. So we want to rotate this chest panel so it's upwards like that. And if you squeeze the whole thing now, it kind of tabs in at the front. Not really, but there's kind of little grooves here. Like if you look, see those little focus on it, those little tabs, they're meant to slot in at the front like this. I found that they don't do a fantastic job, but you can get it to hold on. So that's it for transformation. And he looks pretty good, and looking at the face there, a bit closer, it is definitely Searchlight's face. One thing I like about these throttle bots is, to me, they look like who they're meant to look like. Now, from my memory of the toy, that's just like his face blown up with a little bit more character. He has a full range of posability, so the head pivots backwards and forwards and rotates, so it's kind of the equivalent of a ball. There's an up and down shrug, as well as a ball on the shoulder, more than 90 degrees at the elbow, and a little bit of unfortunate backwards bend at the elbow. The fists rotate, the waist pivots, balls at the hips, a swivel at the thigh, a good at least 90, but with the transformation joint more than 90 at the knee. And this thing here is like an ankle tilt. It's not an ankle tilt, but it can make it look like there's an ankle tilt. So all in all, pretty good posability. One problem that is very evident on mine is that the little mushroom shaped thing in here that holds the thigh swivel is stressed the entire way around, and it's on both parts. Now, I don't think that it's showing up on camera here. It might be. If you can see that little white line, it seems to me that it is going to break off. And I think the tolerances were just too tight, and when they snapped it on, too much downwards force was kind of trying to separate that joint, and I'm really cautious of that, and it's a little bit disappointing. I'm not clear whether everyone's is like that. As I mentioned before, there's no real heel spur, so his backwards, like he's holding his position now, but his backward stability is not great. So if I just give him a little nudge, he will do that. You can play with it by just moving the positions of these things, but they don't really move down. So he is lacking in stability, especially compared to the other Toyworld releases. But what he lacks in stability, he makes up in look. So I can't really complain. Now, he comes with this gun, which is pretty attractive, painted and all. It can tab into either hand. There's no real place to stick it in vehicle mode, but I don't really care about that, to be honest. If I have to choose between a wheel gun like what we got with Grind Rod, which doesn't look too good, or this nice looking gun, I'll take the nice looking gun, thanks. He can reach some good sort of poses, like shooting like that. He looks kind of cool, partly because his feet can tilt so far. He looks cool holding out his gun. I like that. Nice degree of light piping. It's not too obtrusive because you can't really see the back of the head from the front. The way that TFC have been doing their light piping is kind of getting on my nerves, but this Toyworld light piping is pretty good. For scale, here he is with Grind Rod, the other Throttlebot Toyworld have released so far, and they're virtually exactly the same size. One thing I want to bring up is that a lot of people seem to be saying that these guys share some kind of engineering, but it's not really true. They deviate pretty substantially in how most of their parts work. I think what they do share is a concept or an idea about how the transformation should occur, but the physicality of how it is done is not the same, not exactly the same on both. So you'll see some common things like the way that they extend the knees up and down, But when you look at each of them, you can see that they're engineered totally differently, and the ideas carry over, but the model is definitely unique. Okay, apart from him, for another scale shot, here is MP10 again. So he's a little bit short, but all classic sized figures come up a little bit short against MP10. Here is Searchlight against TFC's version of Air Raid. And as I mentioned previously in another video, I like the scale of these guys. Planes should be a little bit bigger, even though he's not big enough really. Sort of cartoon-wise, I feel like they go together. My final thoughts on Aurora, aka Searchlight. The thought is that he's good. So both of these guys are pretty nice, and I'm really looking forward to having the whole team. These are not, you know, smash hit, top tier, third party items. What they are is kind of solid, good tries at making good looking characters who no one else could be bothered to make. Now, that's not saying anything bad. It's just saying that you could skip this if you don't care about the character. I had this toy, the original of this, as a kid, and I really liked it, and I played with it a lot. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to have a better version of him, so I bought it. But at the price they tend to go for now, which is hovering around $70, I don't really think that the toy is worth $70. So if you time it right and you buy it for in the 50s, maybe 50 is still, 55 is kind of the highest I think that it's worth. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, to be honest. I think it was about that. But 70, I would be pretty reluctant. The only way kind of I'm paying 70 for these now is that if I get sucked in and I have to get the rest, and they're kind of increasing the price as it goes along. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the price. I don't feel that it is warranted or justified. And that's not because I'm against paying that kind of money. Tons of third-party items, I pay that. It's just that these guys aren't at that level where I think that it is worth that amount. And who knows what the cause of that slightly overpriced nature of this is, because we have seen pretty big fluctuations. BBTS have fluctuated, you know, kind of $15 depending on how they feel that day as to which price they're going to charge for this guy. So is that caused by Toyworld, or is that them, BBTS, being opportunistic? I can't tell, but what I do know is that if these guys were cheaper, I think a lot more people would jump on board with them. Anyway, that's about it. A kind of cool figure. If you're invested in the character, then pick it up. This has been my video review for Toyworld's Aurora TW-T02, aka Searchlight. I'm Odeean. Thanks for watching. You know what would have made these worth that price? If they had put a spring-loaded launching feature in it so it could roll like the original throttle bots. They could have done it.